Hmm. Y'all, I gotta tell you, I love these things. This is a Lonnie New cherry slush flavor. It's great. I love it. I used to pound them down by the case, and by the case I mean like two a day, maybe, because they're low key expensive when you're spending most of your money on energy drinks and you are 18 years old, right? Well, like I said, these things are great, right? You know, on the can right there, you got biotin, B6, B12, 10 calories, no sugar, and it tastes like amazing, right? Um, what it also has is 200 grams of caffeine, which like I didn't really know what that meant. Like I knew it had 200, and that sounded about right to me. Um, because like I don't know, coffee. I mean, you're kind of getting close to that, right? Um, what I didn't realize though is that apparently the recommended daily caffeine intake for like an adult male, 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. Right. So if I'm putting down two of these a day, right, which was, I mean, like a normal amount, um, plus the coffee I drink in the morning, right, that's already over the the recommended limit, and that's when you start to get like cardiovascular issues down the line with like extended use, right? Um, that being said, too, independent research has shown that these are actually a little low ball. You're probably looking closer to like 215. Um, for the caffeine intake on one of these, which means if you're drinking two, you're already at or over your limit, right? And honestly, they didn't even do, what I expected them to, right? Like I'm drinking these things, it's got 200 milligrams of caffeine. You expect, you're going to be energized, right? So I'm drinking it. I'll have my coffee at, you know, what, 7, 8 in the morning, right? Have one of these around lunchtime, another one maybe around 2 or 3. And you expect it to make you like, more energized, whatever. Um, for me, it kind of had the opposite effect. Like the more I drank, the more like tired and dehydrated I felt, and I would get headaches. I would just feel like crap. Um, and then you just kind of drink more to fix that issue, but it just, I mean, it ends up making you feel worse. Um, and I mean, honestly, finding out all the numbers, right? Because it's been years, really, since I've been drinking energy drinks, regularly, and by years I mean like 8 months maybe. Um, but it was kind of crazy. I just randomly thought about this, and I decided, to look a bit more into caffeine and like the caffeine, not necessarily caffeine being an issue, right? But the energy drinks and the energy drink industry as a whole. Um, and I found like some really interesting information. So, like I said, the recommended like intake for an adult, right? You want to be at like the 400 milligram range. Um, for teens, that's 100, right? So for a teenager, 13 to 17, whatever, because I think the thing said either 12 or 13 to 17, so like 18, 19, whatever. I don't know why 1 year makes that big of a change. But I guess that's just like how they, do that type of stuff. But that means that this is double the recommended intake for a teenager in just one can, right? So that's, I mean, that's crazy. Like just one can, and who's drinking one can? I mean, like if you're drinking it regularly, you're probably going to end up drinking more. I mean, that's just how it is. But the thing is, right? The people who identify as caffeine drinkers, like who regularly drink caffeine, back in 2014, it was 85%. By 2023, it was 94%. I can only imagine, it's probably more at this point now. I mean, it's been 3 years since that study, and that was just the most recent one that I could find. But I mean, that's what, 9% in 9 years. I mean, that's a lot, right? People are drinking more caffeine because we're seeing it in more and more places, right? And so I mean, it's being targeted to everyone. And now the companies, they actually have decided and like work together on this, where they don't market it to children. Um, but at the same time, I mean, they're still being exposed to it, right? You might not have commercials specifically on like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, whatever. But that, I mean, that's not all that children are watching, right? YouTube, you have freaking YouTubers like gamers and crap promoting energy drinks, and it's like, first of all, why do you need energy drinks if you're just sitting on the couch playing video games all day? Like, that doesn't make sense. But that's where they're, I mean, getting most of the marketing for this stuff, right? Like, when's the last time that you saw an ad for Monster? Or, I mean, Red Bull has a lot of ads, but I mean, that's pretty much it, right? But have you ever seen an ad for Alani on like regular TV? Like, I don't. That's not where they're coming from, right? You're getting ads on YouTube, which can go to anyone. You know, you're having YouTubers putting out ads, and it's just everyone's exposed to it, right? We got social media; they're just constantly being exposed to it. I know most of like the fitness YouTubers that I watch, or the content creators on Instagram, right? They all promote, their own pre-workout and whatever. And it's like, pre-workout's not a bad thing. Um, the the issue comes, right, where like caffeine used to just be coffee. If we go back 100 years, whatever, 50 years, it was coffee. You made it at home, right? Then we get coffee shops. Then you can go. It's like that much easier to get coffee. And then we start getting 5 hour energy drinks, whatever. And they're not, totally sold everywhere, until it gets to the point where they're just kind of everywhere, right? Caffeine is convenient now. You can go to 7-Eleven, Stripes, whatever, and you can get as much caffeine as you want. And I mean, just for reference, right? This Alani has 200 milligrams of caffeine. A Celsius, a normal size, not this size, but like a normal Celsius, you're looking at 270. Bang, G Fuel, Rain, they all got 300, right? Which is just one of those. Again, it gets you so close to that limit. If you have, coffee gets you a lot of caffeine. Chocolate gives you caffeine, right? It's so easy to get too much caffeine at this point. And again, I mean, like, why are we promoting it to to gamers? Honestly, like, what? Why do you need caffeine? And it's kind of, I was watching this documentary video on YouTube about electrolytes, and how prevalent they are now, and how we don't really need them as much as marketing makes you believe, right? And it all started, Gatorade, right, was made for athletes, the Florida Gators, because the players are passing out during the game. They needed, the fuel that Gatorade actually gets you, when you're, exerting yourself, losing sweat, whatever. Then at a certain point, right, it starts getting marketed, more to like, you know, everyday athletes, like, not professional, but just, the runner, the gym bro, whatever, right? And then as it gets more and more, right, this industry just keeps on growing because it can grow. Then you start telling people, okay, you need this to go to work. If you're doing anything, right, we're all electrolyte deficient, but we're really not. I mean, most people get enough sodium, whatever, from their diet. Like, we don't need to be pounding down Gatorade every single day, or Element, um, electrolyte powder. Right? We don't. You don't need that if you're just, an everyday person. Right? And it's kind of the same thing that's been happening with caffeine, where, you know coffee is great. Caffeine, honestly, great for you, right? There's so many health benefits that have been documented. Especially recently, we've learned more and more about just how good caffeine is for you. But that's, in moderation, right? Where we get this issue is that caffeine is now, like, energy drinks are being promoted to everyone, right? It used to just be like the monsters, like, that's an aggressive can, right? Now, Alani, I mean, this looks, you know, modern fun for anyone, right? You got, like I said, gamer subs. Doesn't even tell you how much caffeine is in that, by the way. I went to their website. Um, they don't say how much caffeine is in that. So I don't even. Then you got. I don't remember. I think it was Monster. I don't remember which company it is. Made Flirt, which is um energy drinks just for women, right? That's who it's promoted to. It's like, oh, okay. Like I don't. Panera has their high energy, high caffeine lemonade, right, where it was like dangerously high. Starbucks, Starbucks used to just be coffee. Right now, you got their caffeine like refreshers, whatever. They have crazy amounts of caffeine, and you don't think about it because it's not coffee. So then we get this issue, right, where it's just kind of a cycle of caffeine. You know, you have your caffeine in the morning, right? Your coffee, it's great for you. Then you have an energy drink later on in the day, 11, 12, 1, whatever. Then you start kind of getting used to that, and then you want more to chase like that feeling that caffeine used to give you. You build a tolerance, right? Then you drink more and more because you've built that tolerance. Like you wanna feel better. Um, then you start drinking it later in the day. Right, caffeine later in the day can stay in your system up to 8 hours. Right, so if you're having caffeine at 4 in the afternoon, it's probably going to be affecting your sleep, whether you realize it or not. You can just have worse quality sleep even if you are asleep. Um, then you're going to feel more tired the next day. Then you're going to drink more caffeine and going to build tolerance to that, and it's just going to be a whole cycle, right? Like I know personally, I don't when I drink coffee, or I don't drink it to get energized in the morning. I drink it because I just want to feel normal, right? If I don't drink it, you get headaches. You just feel like crap, mentally not there all day. It's a dependence, right? It's I'm not drinking coffee for the stimulant effect at this point. I'm drinking it to feel normal, and that's what happens. And these companies are pushing caffeine into our everyday lives more and more, right? It's not just something you have in the morning, you know, read out on your front porch, sipping your cup of coffee. This is now you do that, right? Then you go to work and have a diet coke during work, right? At lunchtime, you have an energy drink, maybe another diet coke somewhere throughout the day. Your pre-workout has so much, right? I know, like, so many videos I've seen on YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, whatever, about fitness, right? You have the joke of, oh, I just took 600 milligrams, about to crush this leg day, right? But I mean, that's a crazy amount of caffeine, and it does get to the point, right, where you build this tolerance, where it just doesn't seem like that much. I know this one dude, a friend of a friend, right? He's addicted to White Monster. Keeps a case of White Monster in his truck at all times. He's drinking, 3, 4, 5 a day, and he will tell you himself, right? It doesn't do anything for him. At this point, he just drinks it because you know that's what he does. He drinks White Monsters, right? And he just puts down so much, but it's not good for you, right? He's been doing this since he was like 16, 17 years old, which again, like we were talking about, that's still in that range of where they only recommend 100 milligrams. Which I mean, Monster they have like 200, somewhere in that range, I believe. And so it's just you know it's getting pushed everywhere. We have these dependencies, and it's like they tell you need caffeine to game, you need to study, work, go on a road trip, work out, and like it helps in all these aspects, right? Caffeine is not the issue. That's nowhere near the issue. We get this issue because companies are pushing high numbers of caffeine in such easy to digest ways, right? And I'm not talking about digest stomach wise, because too much caffeine will make you nauseous. Uh, that's gonna happen, right? But I mean, mentally digest, right? You don't think about it, right? I don't think about my Alani as drinking 200 milligrams of caffeine. I think about it as drinking an Alani. These drinks that have so much caffeine, you don't think about it as like, okay, this has this much caffeine. You think about it as like, oh, I'm drinking my drink. and end up drinking too much, and that it affects sleep, makes you feel like crap later on in the day. Eventually, I mean, prolonged exposure like this, you can end up having cardiovascular issues. Um, I'm now blanking, and I totally forgot to write it in my notes for the video about uh, the different the different bad effects that too much caffeine can have. Right? Because again, nothing wrong with caffeine. We just got to stay in moderation, and it is so hard with this landscape. Um, Particularly energy drinks. You know, pre-workout too. Um, it's just it's too much. It's just too much. Uh, the pre-workout I used to take, right? Oh, that's the other thing. Let me see if I have it here. Um, oh my God, these I love these things. Mojo pouches. They got 50 grams of caffeine per pouch, and it's like they're really good. I'll take one in the gym, like 10 minutes into my workout, 15 minutes in, and it's just, I mean, they're great, right? But that's an extra 50 milligrams of caffeine. But I don't do pre-workout. The coffee that I drink has about 200 to 250 grams milligrams of caffeine. So it's not, a huge issue, but it's once you start stacking these things, and it's too much. You just got to stay careful. But pretty much that was the thoughts I've had for this video. Thank you all for watching. Stick around if you want to for more videos, more content. Got a lot more on the way. So thank you. Hope you stick around.